Hi, and welcome to Chain Reactions, a weekly live stream from Myosin.xyz, the leading global marketing network, and hosted by yours truly, Blake, and my co-host, Polina. Tune in each week as we jam on the latest happenings in the wild and wonderful world of Web3. We're live on Unlonely.app every Wednesday, 12 p.m. Eastern, and release the pod every following week on Tuesdays. Now, let's talk Chain Reactions.
Release stuff. Boom, boom. All right. Cool. Well, let me kick things off then. So I guess, welcome, Steven. This is a very special episode of Chain Reactions. Normally it's our weekly live stream and our podcast, but today we're doing our first IRL segment, number one. So, kudos to you.
Honored.
Yeah, this is our first IRL one. We'll, release this next week as a podcast. We're really excited to get into it because I think you and I have been talking for a while. We're doing some fun work together and really excited to talk all about Reown and WalletConnect. But I think to kick things off, we'd love to, hear from you and, understand your journey and your story. And how'd you get into crypto? How'd you get into Web3? And what were you doing before all of this?
Yes.
Let's start there.
Yeah, let's do it. So before all of this, I started my career in the music industry, working at an independent record label. And it was that period kind of post-stealing music, pre-streaming.
Right.
So right at the beginning of digital music and like the reemergence of vinyl, which was after a time of record labels making no money, especially for independent labels, it was a time where we could actually make money and run a record label and sell albums and sell digital music. It was pretty like insane time as a child of the pre-internet and then living through LimeWire, Napster, and then entering the music industry. And at that time, there were a ton of streaming services that have all disappeared.
Yeah.
Like Rhapsody,
LimeWire,
Napster had an official one.
Kazam one.
Because there were so many things that, and then you could just buy digital. It was when iTunes launched. You can buy full albums, tracks, and at that time, like a record label could exist on just the sales, direct sales of digital music, and then. That kind of quickly, I did that for 5 years and put out hundreds of records and the kind of heavy metal, punk rock, hardcore, psych rock, like very much in Brooklyn hipster scene. It was like the mid 2000s.
Yeah.
So like kind of was in the thick of like Brooklyn, Williamsburg.
Oh yeah.
In its heyday.
That was proper Williamsburg before it got before the.
Yeah. It was a good time. It was like it was like it truly was like an artist's city and artist culture. And someone who grew up in New York, it truly was like home. I did that. And then I was doing a lot of work. It was also that time with the record label was when a lot of brands were doing much more with music. Like you were seeing independent music, I should say, was becoming popular music. So like you had bands like Killers, Arcade Fire. So that was like the face of many brands. But it was when Vice was doing Vice curation of music and all these things. So my record label was very akin with like skaters and surfers, and so like we were licensing a lot of music for like skate films and surf films, all kinds of action sports stuff. So I started to build a relationship with like the Vans and the Converses, Nikes of the world, and actually ended up getting offered a job to move to Boston to go lead brand marketing in North America for Converse, which was like no brainer.
Why wouldn't you?
Like broke music land into because I kind of came to the music industry and did the bit I wanted to do. Yeah. So there was nowhere else to go. And I wasn't really interested in going to a major label or anything like that. So it was an opportunity to go to a brand that's so rooted in culture, art, skate, music. It was just like a natural fit to enter the corporate world for me in music lab. So did that, was there for 5 years, then also worked on global music marketing, like did everything from like brand campaigns, artist partnerships. We built 3 recording studios. Yeah. So Converse we had an amazing CMO named Jeff Coulter, who was a true visionary. Like it's a marketing brand, like it's the best place to be a marketer because marketing ran the show at Converse. You had iconic shoe. Your whole job was to not fuck it up and like keep it cool.
Don't change the shoe.
Which is like, cool. But like to keep it cool is like really, really kind of some of the hardest things because it's really easy to mess it up, especially when you have like your sales are to a very fickle audience of teenage boys.
Culture's always changing.
Culture's always changing. It's like kind of you and Vans and Nike who owns you. It's also kind of eating in, but it was like true for a marketer. It was like a dream because it was true freedom. Like it was days of South by Southwest, like huge events, huge activations, huge launches. Like, but it kind of for me, it was where being in the Nike system is like where I learned what great looks like, and like everything has to be executed at like the highest level.
Right.
and you're held to like very serious sales numbers. So you don't hit your sales, you're quarterly
So you talk to KPIs.
Yeah, so I did that. I was there for 4 years, then went to work at Sonos. So joined Sonos during their high growth pre-IPO, lived through hyper growth, scaling the company, lived in the IPO, launched stores and retail stores in Berlin, and New York City, and in Soho. Again, it was the transition to me. There was always culture was always at the core. So I had this like piece of high tech, pristine hardware, but its culture was just like a natural fit for me and my personal career.
It's tech. It's culture.
It's culture. It was like it was when I was at Sonos when streaming music was starting to be widely adopted.
Right. So that's like a very nice kind of
it was a full circle moment. Right. Sonos was a technology that kind of they saw the future. Like music's going to be in the cloud. People are going to need multiple room speakers. People are going to want there's going to be a high end audience for it. It was an amazing experience. I was there for 5 years. Lived through a ton of my first tech job. So you literally lived through the ups and downs, especially being a public company when surviving layoffs, like building teams, growing teams, dismantling teams, reorgs, all that stuff.
Jesus.
So
corporate politics.
Moved to Amsterdam. So then I moved to Europe, where I've been for the last 8 years. And now I'm in Lisbon. I was in Paris before this, and that's where I entered the crypto industry. I mean, I was already like into Bitcoin, into Ethereum. It was really like NFT as like a person who like loves culture. Like NFTs, like, oh my god, this is the future. And I just totally I was like, oh, everything's gonna be on the blockchain, like everybody else thought.
Listen, it's maybe one day.
But maybe one day. But the idea of digital ownership was that's what came from the creator world. It was like that idea was quite core and easy.
That was the compelling.
Yeah, that was less so like the speculative side was fun, but it was more so just the idea of like these ownable things that are immutable, and this is the idea of digital ownership and needing sovereign assets that are kind of nation state resistant. I kind of really personally believed in all the importance of all these things and kind of where I thought the world was going too. But I was in Paris and ended up going to work at Ledger. Ian Rogers, the CXO, I knew him from my music industry days. Yeah. He went to Ledger. I was like, oh wow, Ian's at Ledger. Hardware, which was like a natural. I was like, that was so nice. Yeah, like it's and having a physical thing is much easier to market than a tangential SaaS thing. I had SaaS experience briefly before this too, so it was just a natural fit, and was at Ledger for 3 years before joining. It was an amazing time, like bull bear, kind of lived in the bull, lived in the bear.
When exactly were the dates again?
I joined in 2021. I think it was like September 21. Like that was when we were putting ledgers on wrappers. Like it was a good day. Like we were like icing out ledgers, putting them on wrappers. Drake had one. Like we were like, this is it. Everybody's gonna have a ledger. Everybody's gonna be using crypto. And then the bear market came. I got to work with Tony Fadell on the launch of Stack. So it was an amazing experience. And then an opportunity came to go to join WalletConnect. So I was excited to kind of have one also location change in Paris, in Amsterdam 4 years, Paris 4 years. Yeah. We wanted to be somewhere warm and blue sky. Lisbon, after moved to Lisbon was quiet.
Which is where we are now.
Yeah, we are now.
And so, I mean, that's really cool, right? I love that story. It makes so much sense to me, right? Like starting in, because like music and culture and technology, like being at the intersection of all those in so many different eras too. We're talking about music and then Converse to Sonos, and then that to Ledger is a very natural transition. But now what's quite interesting, and I'm curious how, and I'd love to hear more, is like, what was it about WalletConnect and / Reown, which we'll talk about in a second, that kind of drew you here? I guess outside of, obviously we all want to be in Lisbon. It's a beautiful place, right? But
fully remote company. So I could be wherever I want. Let's go be here. Yeah, which is also I think a unique aspect of working with crypto. You don't have that. You don't have that in many.
Everyone's going back to the office. Fuck that. I'm never going back.
No, I don't want to go back.
So then that brings me to the next part. So I think now we can dive a bit deeper into the world of crypto itself. So could you give me a brief 60-second description of what is Reown, which you're the CMO. Mm-hmm. What is WalletConnect? How are those two things connected? What does it do, and why does it need to exist in the world?
Yeah, let's start with WalletConnect. WalletConnect essentially is a connectivity layer of on-chain interactions. It's a protocol that facilitates secure and seamless interactions between apps and wallets. And that's really the first product.
Real quick, sorry. Sonos. Yeah.
And that's really kind of the first product that Reown built.
Yeah.
When we launched the token, when WalletConnect announced the token in September, we decided to split the two companies, kind of instead of having the labs format, we wanted to have a cooler name, and then establish a product company and separate from the foundation and the WalletConnect network. So like WalletConnect, the protocol itself, the network is really kind of the first product that Reown built. And then Reown, we have SDKs we create for apps and wallets to build UX for apps. It's things like embedded wallets, email social login, insights for wallets. It's we have a suite of features from like chain abstraction to one-click authorization. So we have like and that our wallet SDK is kind of the gateway to the WalletConnect network, and the part of that ecosystem. And the app, and the combination of those two products really help grow the network. More apps and wallets that use our SDKs, it helps grow Pi. There's also other SDKs that use it, like Privy. So it's under the hood of many of
is Privy using a wallet?
I mean, almost every SDK uses WalletConnect.
And everyone's
uses the protocol. It's because it's public good infrastructure.
Right. I love that. Well, now let's get a bit deeper into that, right? So, I mean, there's some crazy stats. I'm just kind of like reading through my notes, right? You guys are connecting 600, 50,000 dApps, right? Over 220 million on-chain connections. But I guess as we start to talk, you guys just had a teaching, right? With WCT. I'm curious about, as you guys were thinking about token and decentralizing, what is the role of the token? How does that fit into everything you're doing? As you guys grow and you start to build out more apps, what's the point of it all?
Yeah, great question. I mean, I think about WalletConnect, the most simple way I describe it is think of it like when we say connectivity layer, I think of it similar to like your Visa network or a mobile network. Or like another way to describe it is I think of the HTML standards that were foundational to building the early internet. And imagine in those days, there wasn't, we didn't have tokenization. We didn't have a way to reward early users for building and using this network. And I think for WalletConnect, it's part of having a token is to have an ultimately decentralized permissionless network that is really owned by no one, and having that, because the alternate is where all these interactions between apps and wallets are going up to a centralized entity and data. We've seen that story play out before. But we also have the ability, and recently we're all building on chain and building decentralized technology, so we can. With the token, what it does allow is a way to reward and incentivize node operators to secure the network, governance, staking, for users to believe in wallets, rewards the usage they drive. So you have this like full ecosystem of people who like believe in this, the importance of having this technology. Like again, similar to the way I think we had previous connection platform standards, and when we're building the early web, now we're building a different kind of web here, where we can have these quote unquote, I hate saying the word rewards, but like ways to incentivize people who are part of building
decentralizing the future of wallets. And I think what you talked about earlier with HTML is like, imagine a world where we all could have. As you said, we could have.
You were writing you were early building on an early building website or blogs or whatever. Just contributing. Like there was no.
I still remember GeoCities. I remember all
imagine that one.
It was like crazy.
I think it's a good like analogy that kind of explains it in like layman's terms versus getting overly technical about it.
I like it. So diving a bit deeper into the token itself, right? Because I do think it's quite relevant to this, the entire conversation. And I think the latest thing that you guys come, thinking about is, how do you decentralize and grow and build this network, right? So I think that it was quite interesting, actually. You guys initially did on OP mainnet, $10 million token sell, 11-second sell out on Echo, which is pretty epic. Could you walk us through the token's key use cases, right? We're talking about staking, governance rewards, and how that's all been going since that initial airdrop, and then obviously since TGE, I guess.
Yes. So WalletConnect, when it announced in September, the initial airdrop happened in November, the claim happened in January, and then market conditions aside, making a decision for WalletConnect was to look at like when do you unlock transferability? How do you increase the pie of people who are holding the token as well, because you want to manage against like initial sell pressure, people dumping. You can't avoid any of these things. And also, how do you put token in the right people's hands?
Yeah.
Like, how do you, there's a difference between an airdrop audience, somebody who's purchasing them on a public sale versus somebody who, like with us, we have a ton of partners and high quality partners, especially like wallets and things like that. So Wallet is able to work with these different partners to help find high value users and high value holders, and not just people who we know are going to give them the token and it's gone. So this staking's been going like really well. The staking's been going really well. We're still in the early days of governance and voting. So those are, and then kind of defining what is a community member. And this is like a really important thing that, especially as now like kind of post this airdrop meta for a lot of different TGEs that we saw in Q4 into what are happening a lot now in Q1 is, I think you have to have an honest dialogue with your community on what does it mean to be in a community? What does it mean to be a community member? These are the behaviors we expect. These are the kinds of participation we expect, not just of like individuals, but also of entities and like, we have we have node operators, we have wallets who.
So how does that work for you guys? How do you think about, there's so many different stakeholders because you have this diverse ecosystem of builders and retail users and partners.
I think with the partners and node operators and wallets, it's quite clear because it's based on
just how they use it.
Yes, it's usage, and also like the node operators are incentivized to secure and maintain the network. I think it's like the user piece is the most important. It's like the most vast one, right? That's the most vocal one. So I think we're still figuring it out. I think for us, it's different because Wallet didn't start with the idea of a token. So like it was 7 years ago and solved the use case of connecting mobile wallets to desktop apps. And there was we wasn't like, use this and there'll be a token. Whereas I think like for better or for worse, some projects kind of begin with the idea that a token is coming if you build, if you participate as a user, like token will come. For us, it's the opposite. It's almost harder because you have to change people's perception of what you are.
Because they'll just be like, well, why?
Yeah, exactly. And also like, well, what do you want me to, what am I supposed to do? Like, how do I participate? How do I earn more of this thing? Or so I know, especially when you're an infrastructure layer where like, you have to there's a level of like, you want to be serious and you want people to understand like why your technology is important, what your product does, like basic things that sometimes I think projects forget and so that's kind of the really important thing. So
basic principles
of marketing and basic principles. I think things we kind of eschew in crypto often, which are kind of like messaging, clear messaging. You kind of have to tell people the same thing over and over for them to repeat it and believe it. And in a space that is constantly chasing narratives and adapting, like how do I tie this to AI? Or it's like you're never, how do you stand for anything? You're constantly changing to the thing of the moment. Because great brands don't do that. They tend to stand for something consistently. So I think it's a long way of answering the question, but I think what we have to do, what WalletConnect has to do, is kind of set the parameters for what the community, what the expectations of the community are, and you build from there. Because after you list, it's kind of, you have the community you get, and then there's the community you build. So depending on what kind of project you are, for sure.
How's it been going for you guys? How are you feeling about it so far?
I personally think it's gone very well. Given the market, it's like you can't manage that, right? So you have to do the things that you kind of have to go with your gut a bit, because I feel like there's no blueprint for this, and everybody's going to tell you like,
there's no playbook.
Do this, don't do this, or like mean this, don't mean that. And you're like, well, you kind of have to at some point just kind of go your gut on like these are things I think are going to work, and place your bets and place smart bets and work with the right people. And then you kind of have to hope for, okay, well, I can't control the market, so I can't really worry about that. I can't control what Trump might tweet this today. And I think totally derailed things. You have all these variables at play that we weren't.
It's been a weird couple of months.
It wasn't in play maybe 6 to 8 months ago when we regulation, like the attitude of regulation has changed. So you kind of have to be of the moment, but also like be true to who you are and keep educating people on who you are, what you do, and like again, if you're the community piece, like the holder piece, and why you do this and why it's important.
And I think that's a really great segue to the next thing I want to talk about, which is just marketing in general, right? And the marketing playbook. And so how have you guys been thinking about leading up to TG, obviously, but now that you're past it too, like, and how is that going to shift and evolve as you're going to the next phase of building that community? You know, what are the things that are going to get the ecosystem excited? And, you know, there is this reality that ultimately when you do have a token, right? You do have to think about retail in some form too, right? So what role do they play? You know,
yeah, I think you have there's a kind of probably a few different marketing levers that every token project needs to think about. I think like you need a balanced media mix, like you need like a balance of activity, right? You can't just post stuff you can't just expect to post stuff on social, and then because you also put so much into that build up and that initial listing moment that you kind of like afterwards like, oh wait. Now what? And it's almost like you're running so hard at that moment that the race just starts after that.
Yeah.
So in many ways for WalletConnect, the good thing is that the project is in almost every app and every wallet. So like there's no shortage of storytelling to do around partners and things like that. And what more is like, how do you, the way I think about it is like after it's like launching a product, right? You want to have your billboards up. You want to get the news out. You want everybody talking about it, but you can't maintain that. You can't. It's impossible to invest and maintain that. But also, we're in another weird area. I think right now where like, and I'm not against it. It's like this incentivizing people to talk about you. And I think, well, then what is that quality? Is noise quality? And what's the difference between like good noise and just noise? And I think like we're in this like crazy point right now where you can pay to get people to consistently talk about you, but it doesn't mean it's being seen or heard or just AI slop that they're putting out there to get points on a leaderboard. And I think you kind of have to have like a mix of all these, a balanced mix of all these things, but also real news, real updates, real bullish signals, real progress, and real product news and product updates. Because if you don't have that, like,
you're just shouting to the void.
Yeah, you're shouting to the void, and you can. We do work in an industry where you can't fake it. Do you make it to sometimes the whole way, or you just get like you can go on vibes, but that's really it's
tenuous.
It's hard. I think it's really hard.
Shout out Frank Degots.
I just think it's really hard to do that. So I think you have to kind of, like I was saying earlier, like really root everything in the ethos of the product and what the product does, and make sure you're doing continuous education around that.
So if you don't mind me asking, like, as we think about the coming months, as much, I mean, there will be a section later where I'm just like share alpha, but in general, like, what is there anything you can kind of talk about, maybe even high level, like where are you guys? I know we're talking most about marketing, but on the product side, like, what gets you excited? Like, what are the general areas that you guys are thinking about coming up?
I think for like on the Reown side of things, it's how do we continue to innovate to abstract the crypto experience away as much as possible, and build products that allow builders to bring more users on chain. And I think we're getting there, and these things are happening. But I think it's a mix of like finding the right apps. There's always going to be a world where wallets exist, I think, for crypto users. But when I think about the people who are in this space, why is that? Is it a product market fit thing? Is it they're not interested? Is it just that they don't want to have a wallet? They don't want to go through all this stuff. Like we go through so much pain in this space, partly because of it's frontier technology. You have to kind of mess around with a lot of it. You have to use different things to we just released a study today. Like most people are still using the amount of wallets people are using is growing, which is crazy. And that kind of leads me to believe mostly new people. There's most existing people in this space who are okay using multiple wallets, but for a new person, like it's like, well, do they want an email wallet? Do they want a social wallet? I don't know.
Right.
Do they want Phantom? Maybe.
Yeah.
But I think like we have to really think, like, get rid of the ideas of gas, and like, so let's talk about this space. Like, these are not words that being human once a year. So like get rid of the vocab, like get rid of the jargon, and really build things that people.
Imagine clicking on a website and you're like, I want to read this article. Like, pay like 30 cents, and you're like, what? Like,
yeah, and also like I think we spoke about this. Like when I think about like why Robinhood's pushing so hard because they have the users already. They already have users, like most, and they have a lot of them. So for if like you saw Bank of America and not stable coins, like we're seeing. I think we're going to see
MasterCard just announced.
Yeah, I think a lot of the adoption is going to come through. Like, I think there was a point a year ago where like, what's the future of fintechs? I think the future of fintechs is probably merging TradFi and crypto and just bringing those experiences in a way where it's super easy for the users. So I think a lot of people too, they don't want to have a seed phrase. They feel safe with their bank.
That's why Privy and so many of these, so many of these wallets, I guess, are successful right now, or as much as they are, right? Like, I think I saw something of like with phone numbers and emails. Like, I still use the same phone number on an iPad since I was 13, and I still have my Yahoo on iPad since I was 6. Although I eventually did get a Gmail, so now I have to maintain multiple emails.
Yeah, you don't have nobody you want 6 of those things.
Yeah,
and it's like if we're living in our own like little bubble sometimes, but there's enough money in that little bubble where like we have it. We do have a super. It's a $1 trillion industry for a reason. There is a lot of, but like it's not a lot of people. And I think that's kind of like what a lot of us see in these down moments. Like, it's kind of just
we're just recycling ETH and Sol.
And you see that at events too, right? We're still doing events for the industry. Like we're the only industry that only has events for the industry. As someone who came from like a consumer background, I'm like baffled. Like are you supposed to be doing events for the public? But like I think and it's not a bad thing. It's just like I think it's nature of like we're still figuring out like where like what are we not what are we trying to build, like what is that kind of silver bullet? Is it stable coin? Is it
I genuinely think it might be stable.
It is. And I think you're seeing it like with the banks, like I can have my own, this is way to lock my customers or whatever, however.
It's exciting. And that actually, you're just that point you touched on just now around, how the industry kind of tends to, I don't know if it's navel gazing, but we're kind of just selling to each other basically, and we're recycling the same assets within our industry. I guess there's a follow-up question there, which is like, since joining Reown, I guess, but also maybe just more broadly your time in crypto, how has your perspective on Web3 marketing as a whole shifted or adjusted? What do you feel like the biggest lessons you've learned and insights you may or may not have had?
Sometimes I feel it's a good question. I think like there's certain things I kind of hold dear from in marketing that I refuse to let go of, like creativity and culture at the center of everything. Really being thoughtful about design and how you present your brand. I will never let go of those things. And I think we are really flippant about those things in crypto. Like most people work with the same handful of agencies to create all of their work. There is really very little.
So a lot of purple, a lot of black,
purple, a lot of waves, a lot of just like gradient. We don't really put a lot of value on brand in crypto. We don't really. And I think we don't think about design at all. And I think it's part of like the UX problem we have. Like we don't have enough designers. There's not enough like creative directors in our space. There aren't enough like product design, not just like builders, like people who design. Like, and I think that's part of it. That's part of the problem. Like, and we actually just won 2 Webbies.
Let's go.
Last week for our design, our branding of our brand design and our website. And I was like,
it's a clean site.
But I was like, this is what I thought my award days were over. I'm like, I'll never get an award again in crypto. And like, it's very, and I'm not saying it to toot our own horn. It's more like, well, it's nice to be rewarded for something that like you take very seriously. Like we designed, when we rebranded, when you change a company from like WalletConnect into and then have a Reown to, you basically starting new. And like, we were really, really thoughtful about how we approach the brand design. But I approached that as I would approach any work in my career where it's like, hey, you need to really think about like the design language, the words you use, like the function of your branding and how that lives in different places, which is not things you think about a lot, especially when it's like a meme, like the meme culture we kind of lean into and stuff like that. So it's not, you can't build a brand. Like there's a time remember that you can't build a brand like that. So I think like those things that I'll sure there's also times where I have to throw everything I believe out the window. On some days I'm like, okay, shit, we have to do this thing. Fuck, I'll do it, but I don't really want to. So it's like, and it, like that, giving into, yeah, sometimes you have to just kind of give into like the things that there are things that work in our space. I was alluding to her like, okay, well, what if you have to do KOL marketing? What's the right way to do it?
Yeah.
If I have to make a lot of noise, what's the right way to do it? So just being like thoughtful in how we do these things, and like in a way that's has quality and impact, versus just like putting a bunch of stuff out there and be like, well, we made noise and my number went up, my mind share went up on Kaito, but is it good mind share or bad mind share?
Hey, can we do a quick, just like, what are your thoughts, and not to get too spicy, but like on Kaito and yapping?
I think the tool itself, like, amazing for marketers. Right. Like, if you wanted a way to explain to your company what you do, it's amazing. The metric we used to use when not Web 2 or like a lot of companies are media, like you used to, we got billions of impressions, and that means that it would have cost this much money if we would have paid for this. Like, and that was a great way to describe to the company who we're not marketers the value of marketing. Okay, wow, we got all this press and attention and volume and noise, and if we would have paid for that, it would have cost X. And like many a CMO and multi-billion-dollar companies have wrote that narrative. And I thought, like, one thing to do, I love about the tool is that like it's a great way to educate internally on like sentiment, and you can keep track of how things are doing, like what are people saying and how are they saying it, what do I need to do more, what do I need to do less of. What I worry about is like that if everybody's getting points for everything.
When you financialize it.
When I financialize it, it's just like, I think like there's a type of user in our space who is doing all these things that are not like a high quality, high value user. They're just doing things to accrue points to then get a token or something, but they're also not making quality. Like, where's the curation? It's like where I keep like, we don't, like, again, when we talk about like things we don't value in this, is curation. And I think that was why some of the art platforms, the digital art platforms, are so great, because there was an element of curation I would use. I go to Foundation for this and Super Rare for that, Art Blocks for this. Curation is so important. And I think we don't really have that.
There's just so much noise, and the thing too, right, is like with something like Kaito, like, I mean, it's definitely in their best interest to try and curate. But even then, it's not easy.
It's hard, and also it's hard, and then you have a token on top of that, and you have a subscription, and it's a great product. Like, and it's also like it makes a lot of sense, and I think you need it, like, because as a marketer, your usage of data is like all over the place. I use more tools than I've ever used in my career. It's like, I need this, I need Dune for this, and this. I try to put, and then you have to kind of paint a picture of like, it's not even that. It's like you have to like do the analysis of like, well, I think if we do these things, it'll impact these things.
Speaking of the dashboard, we talked about the dashboard. Has it gone live yet? Is that?
No, not yet. But like, I think no. But look, we need to have like for WalletConnect, like people need like a network dashboard that shows like what's happening on the network. Those are the kind of things that you need. I think like basic tools that have a lot of value for when you think about narrative. The narrative should be that. The narrative should be, well, what's happening on the network. Here's the growth. Like, if you look at the Visa network, well, how many payments are going through? Like, you would, okay, that makes sense. There's billions flowing through that network thing. If there's a world where that where there's a fee structure, then you can do it. An institution can understand that, and also a retail investor can understand that, versus having to join this shit post and you want to be part of this. It's like, I think I'd rather do it that. I prefer to do things that way than, and you have to do the other way, but I think that's the better way to do things for a long-term perspective.
Well, you got to bring them in and just show. It's like, make it so simple.
You got to make. I guess the other thing, like, we don't. We struggle with these days.
Coming soon. A couple more here. I think we talked about partners earlier, right? And I think especially for a company like yours, where your product is so well integrated into pretty much every big play in the space, like, how are you guys thinking about co-marketing and promoting and getting those partners to, I guess, it's kind of a multiple question here. It's like, participate in your ecosystem, but also help promote, what you guys are doing. How's that been going? How do you guys think about it?
For co-marketing is a funny one. I think it's like my favorite, it's like the most overused word in our space. We have to do more co-marketing. I'm like, of course. I'm like, what is that? I think for like the Reown, it's like co-marketing is showing our product. Our product shows up in other people's products, so we have to.
It's so low key sometimes.
It's very and it's also like we don't like there's not a definable UX. Like I think when I think of Reown, you're using, you don't know it's there as a user. You don't know it's there. So we have to be like, I think like it's always to me a show don't tell. Like it's a key part of your go-to-market strategy. Like when it's hard to launch something without having a partner part of it. Yeah. So if we and it's not a traditional SaaS sales cycle, right? It's not like, we have this new feature. Well, if nobody's using it, it's gonna be really hard to go to market with it in a way people understand. If it's just us showing, even whether it's built developers or another biz dev team, how it works, and we can show demos and stuff. But I think you need kind of a bevy of content, but you also need like launch partners to probably go to market with them. So co-marketing is kind of it's just like a part of the go-to-market mix that you have to have. And partner storytelling is something we do always. It's like most of our posts have to be about partner, because one, that helps drive attention, and then it also like incentivizes them to share it with their community. And it's also on the product side, and then there's also like the ecosystem side where you want to show how to use different chains and how to build on like there's different foundations to work with. So it's an essential part, especially of like developer marketing. Yeah, like you have to kind of go. You need like we get an immediate mix, right? Like what are the events I need to do? Yeah. What are the events I need to go to? What are the ecosystem calls we need to be on? What assets does that DevRel team? What assets do our BD team need? Yeah. What assets do our product team need? Like, right? Because if I know I'm answering the question in
that's good.
But like I think like if my product team or business team's like, we have no awareness on this, like that tells me, okay, well, like one, I have to dig into that. What does that mean? Are we not yelling loud enough? Or are we not talking to the right people? Or do you guys not have the right assets to go do your job? Right? Yeah. So like, because some of it's just direct BD outreach. They need the right sales enablement tools. And these are like fundamental things that like you need, it's like, it's a mix. You need content, you need different PDFs, and you need, we just launched a report again, the state of on-chain. Today we made it with Nansen, which is like, that's a great awareness driver for like, hey, what's an awareness driver versus what's an acquisition driver? I was actually talking to social media about this tomorrow. Like, I think that one of the best parts about X since Elon took over is so many advertisers that have left. So it's actually a great place. It was the worst place to advertise forever. And now it's a great place. Now you get quality. It's quantity over quality. Yeah. But I'm like, well, you could, I think boost.
But this is where your audience.
There's smart spend to do, right? Like showing up in people's feed when they're scrolling, when you can target. Like there's smart ways to use it. If you're using this acquisition channel, you're gonna fail. Like if you're intentional about why you're using it, there's very few paid media platforms, and like Google search doesn't really work for a product, right? You're not gonna find devs through smart SEO, like doing really smart SEO. And
there's been a lot of chatter around Reddit lately.
Reddit's great. It's expensive. I think it's just like Reddit's awesome. I mean, and it's where so many people. Like, it's kind of where like the cross section of builders, and then like average just normal users, and it's where normal, like my brother goes. Like it's where normal people go. So, but advertising there is just like it's getting.
It's about
how do you efficiently optimize a very, very small audience? Because like the more narrow your audience, the more it costs to reach them with paid media. That is
often. Well, because they know what they got.
They know what they got. Very special. Like in the days of like performance marketing, which thankfully is dying a slow death. I think like you used to be able to go to Google and like they would tell you what your ROI, what your return on ad spend could be, because they had all the data. So they'd be like, this money, we know you'll have this many signups. So our industry doesn't really work like that.
Well, hopefully we find a better solution.
I think we're trying to. I think we are trying to. That's kind of one of the nice things that we are trying to figure it out. It's one of the things that doing marketing so hard in this space because of that, right? There aren't those like I could just go.
It's not just a formula. So I'm do
your digital marketing. So here's a bunch of money. Get me users. Like you can do that. You can do that back in the day.
And even in Web2 though, it's getting so expensive. It's the thing. It's the cost. Overall.
The CPMs are high. The ROAS is
it's through the roof in general. Across all
range. I think it's like it's one of the most exciting and challenging times to do marketing. I think what you're seeing is to like brand is important. Mm-hmm. Like having, like you look at Liquid Death is a great example of that. Just having a strong brand really, really, really matters.
Helps sell itself.
It helps. I mean, like
the viral
the vibe and the community come from the brand we put out there. So I think like I look at that, and that's what powerful branding is. And those founders came from PR background.
Oh yeah.
Like those guys, they get it.
They get it. Yeah, and they just stood out in the category. I want to also talk about WalletCon, because I think that's something you guys do really well. I feel like pretty much every conference I've been to, I've badly seen a WalletCon. I've been to a couple. It's been a good time. But curious how you feel like that fits into the overall strategy, right? And I think that's the main thing. It's like, where does it fit within?
I think I come from events back, always companies that did events.
Yeah.
And in crypto, we do so many events. And I think WalletCon for us it's our we do it twice a year. We did it and the first one was in Denver 2023. Then we did it at Bangkok in 2024.
Mm-hmm.
So we should do we bookend it usually at Denver, and we'll see what that means next year. Then we're doing we'll do it at DevCon in Buenos Aires.
Yes, that's gonna be so much fun.
So I think events are super important for any company. They're the way it's almost like the pinnacle expression of your brand.
Yeah.
Like how you show people a great experience that comes through the branding, the on-site, the partners, the activations, the curation. I think curation is so important when especially in a world like ours, when there's so many events, there's so many things to go to. It kind of comes down to the content and the content of the event. People will go if they know good people are going to be there. They're going to learn about something, and they're going to see something they see or hear something they wouldn't get anywhere else. I think in our space, it's really hard because we're basically booking each other. Booking event, it's like booking talent, right? What artists can bring the most people? Yeah. I think about that too when we book our events. Who are the groups? What are the topics that people will come for? Because sometimes they the people, it's the topics that sometimes oh wow, we should have done more of that kind of topic because that filled the room versus somebody just chilling something on stage. So I think I think for me, like I said, it's the pinnacle expression of the brand. Yeah. It's the best way to engage, and it's great for biz dev. It's great for lead gen. It's great for, if you do it right, you can serve biz dev's needs. You can serve the product team's needs, by getting just awareness, and it's a great time to announce stuff at events. I think I came from I very much believe in the Apple mindset of twice a year you do these moments, you get everybody to look at you as you announce stuff. They do that because it works. Yeah. And I always put that in mind when we're doing events. What are we going to announce? It's a new thing we're going to say.
It's your guys' what does Apple call it? It's their
Apple keynote. They call it Apple keynote, but now everybody does. There's the Salesforce. They all have one now because it just works. You get attention, and then you have content for days. Yeah. Then you have stuff that you can just bleed out until the next one, right? And you can get quotes, and you have partners, and you get them to share. It's if you do it right, it
pays for itself.
It pays for itself, and you get the right. It's hard to and then you can bring the right, and also who partners in your event, what are the right sponsors? You don't want to take money. You want to kind of try to subsidize some of your cost and make it worthwhile and absorb some of the damage, because events are especially when you're doing in the US and abroad, they're super expensive. So we also want to have the right partners to make sure, okay, what's the themes of the event? Let's make sure if we have sponsors, they're the right ones. It's not just, okay, give us 10K and you get a slot on stage. It's kind of,
for you guys, that really would be just weird.
See, I think the last few events, the shilling I was getting, I had people ask me to speak and then send me a deck. I was wait, you could you asked me to speak, but it's $4,000 for me to speak. I get why some people do it, because you can totally be this could be a lead gen. Wow, just get on stage and we could put a VD out there.
I'm exhausted, man.
Something like that where I'm this is just us. We're taking money from each other. We're just once
you give me some money.
Maybe I'll sponsor our next event. But again, it's super important. I think done well, they are highly impactful experiences. The first we do them, they're our chemo.
No. And you guys, as you talked about, the branding is solid. I always, it's very well done. So kudos to you guys.
Thank you.
And actually on that, it's just a fun one. As we think about events, we think about branding. What are some of your favorite events, I guess, or brands and companies in Web3 outside of Reown and WalletConnect that you really admire and you'd love to collab with, maybe, but you don't have to.
I love what Solana does. Yeah, I think as a foundation and just ecosystem, it's the best. I just went to the Crossroads event, and which is more community driven. The way they've managed to have from the foundation down, there's a decentralized community in many ways.
True.
The super team runs the hacker houses. They have amazing accelerators. They have and it's all down. It's all community driven. Like when I go to their events, they did a great job in Istanbul having students there. Like, that's great. These are the people are going to build and use the tech. And I thought Breakpoint was really well done.
Last year was stellar.
It just felt like the closest thing to a consumer event. Like this is what, and the reason it is because like they build products for their audience. They know what their audience wants. They're not trying to be something they're not. They're like, well, we know what you guys like, airdrops and DJing, but like that's okay. That's what their audience is. I do think, love it or hate it, I think Base does a great job of like just making create a lot of noise and awareness around the fact that people, I had like multiple thoughts in the last week, and I thought Jesse said a great thing on Bankers. He's like, there's not enough new users. He's like, there's not enough users, and we do need like culture, and we do need.
They've done a really good job of capturing that, I think.
And I think he's right. Like we don't have enough stuff that bring new people in right now. So we can just kind of build more DeFi. Build more DeFi products or build more token launch pads. But like, is that what's useful, right?
That actually, quick side note, right? Like not even related to wallets or anything, but it's something. But maybe it is in a sense. It's like I feel like with when like Caribbean, all these like these single sign-on wallets started to pop up, right? And I guess what I'm getting at is like I was very excited about consumer crypto for a while, and I think like relating it to wallets, I think like the Privies of the world were hopefully help foster that. But it has been kind of weird because I feel like lately we haven't seen very much of any. Maybe it was just too early in the hype cycle, But I feel like consumer crypto or consumer apps still have.
Yeah, I think like we see this at
haven't found it.
Like Reown, like we have email, social rock, and all these things, and Privy has that as well. And I think what you'll see is like I think these create a lot of dust wallets. Where you're just like opening wallets per app, which creates just like no human can keep track of them. And I think there's projects like Blackbird, which is a great example of completely attracting. It's not viewed as a crypto.
Right.
I don't think it's even viewed as a consumer crypto product. It just happens to be under there's like under the hood. But I guess kind of the best example we've seen of like something
it's the closest we have
that has like real scale and is consumer driven. But I think like again, it's a lot of times these social wallets you create, if they're not portable, if you can't use them across app, or they're locked in, they're vendor locked to a certain provider. You as a user have no clue who they are. So like that's not a great experience, right? In many ways, you're creating more fragmentation. So I think like, again, for people to want to use these things, they're going to have like the vendor education user would need to kind of export their private key from those. Like if that's a normie, not one of us.
No.
So I
mean, but even as a power user, right? Like if I go and create a social wallet and then I try and I could go, but I'm like, there's not enough here for me.
Yeah, and I think you'd have to keep a lot of value in there. Yeah. You're going to want to like use it for very few things. Because again, as a power user, I'm not putting any more than a few bucks in there because I don't really, it's too risky.
Maybe that's the thing. It's just me like jamming out loud on this. It's like, I think the reason Blackbird works, right? It's like, and by the way, like, to some extent, right? Like that's not even to say they're a runaway hit, but they're doing quite well. And I think the best example, but like the reason that makes sense is like, it's a universal experience, right?
People love food. People love going out to eat. They love talking about it.
Yeah.
And they love feeling special at the places they go to, which like that allows like unique experiences.
Right.
Like that is why members club work for so long, right? Yeah. Like we'll show on Soho House. People still go to Soho House. Yeah. People still pay for that membership. There's a reason for that because you want to feel everybody can have it, everybody can do it. It's like it becomes, especially in the age we live in now, it becomes less appealing.
Yeah.
People want to feel that experience again, back that are curated for them, or they only have access to. Which back when the thing we thought we were getting, like I got these sneakers, but I had to pay. I had to pay for them.
Yeah.
But I do think there is something that's to me is the unlock. I constantly think about like why do so many people use DraftKings and Prize Picks and these gambling apps are exploding, and that's like the even worse behavior. It is enabling way worse behavior and way worse.
You do see overlap between those and like the crypto degens.
I think there's a total overlap in that for sure. And I also think there's a reason those folks aren't coming over here. Sports or culture, it's easy to get. I want to bet on this and do that. I think it's like, I think, again, we've hoped for gaming and consumer crypto. Like GTA, and it's like, unless Grand Theft, my people no hanging on gaming, but let's like Grand Theft Auto or Fortnite integrate this. It's gonna take a while. Like,
did you see though? Just quick news. It's Pokemon. They're gonna be on Suite. Or
that true?
To my knowledge, yeah, it's starting to come out, and I've talked to some people.
Okay.
But my understanding is like they had already tried to do it in the past, but obviously gamers like hate crypto and NFT so much. So this time they're completely like, they're not even talking about.
But that's what you need. If you want this to work, you have to have something of that level adopted. And I thought the same way when Jeff Bezos were talking about like Zora and coining culture. I was like, unless Drake or like someone like that, not even just Drake, but like you need someone at a level that can really influence consumer behavior. And there's very few pop culture people who can do that.
Yeah.
Like on the worst end of it, it's Kanye.
Yeah.
on
real bummer on that one.
Yeah, I mean, like it's like, but I'm like, but he's still in a weird way. Like,
I think it's fading day by day.
Yeah, he's weird. It's not like it's bonkers, but like he still has like a voiceover youth culture. I was like in his 40s, but like like when you think about like the Taylor Swift, like these people who really move culture, who like impact buying power, impact people's purchase decisions. Reality.
You know what I think the key is I think it's the like I've talked about it quite a bit in like my own life too. Of like we're heading towards a world where everything is increasingly financialized. However, for I think an app to really achieve that mainstream adoption, I don't think the financialization is not the point for 99% of people.
No.
Right? Like we love it because we're all like, let's be honest, like everyone's like, I'm in it for the tech. It's like, listen, we all came in here because we're like, Bitcoin is going to go to the moon at some point or another. That's what brought us in. And then we stuck around because we're like, wow, there is real potential here. There is something cool here, and ideally we can build it. But
you have to be like fearless and like be okay with like this could all not work.
Right.
Like
but then I think for most people that, as you said, they don't give a shit about it. They're just like, how does this improve my life?
Yeah.
And if this Blackbird is an example, it's like, wow, this is helping me feel special at restaurants that Resi and Reserve and Open Table or
Google like reserving for Google. Let's give you nothing. There's no loyalty. There's no
right. So then it's like, what are the other experiences? Like, I really think there's and we wrote a research report about this like a year or two ago, and I still think it's true. It's like hospitality still has some major potential.
Oh yeah, I
like travel.
Travel, yes,
and
yes. So. Like those like passion points. I think things that kind of make people's passion, like allow them to do more of it or give them better experience. So I think that's something like, because like we don't have a lot of passion points. I think crypto, like the products that exist, are like they're financialized products, or if you like they might help you make some more money, but it's not like helping me live better. Like I think people do that. I think there's people trying to do that in the health space. There's a few step ins. If there's things that are trying to, which I enjoy. Like, what would a Strava that gives you like what you could earn, like a Strava that you actually earn, like those these are cool. Like these are cool ideas. I think these are ideas people can really at a broader level get down with and understand.
I do really believe just building on that, right? Like I think talking about narratives and then we'll come back to sorry, we're going on a little side journey here, but it's a fun one. Is like I think and I don't think this is that hard to take at all. Actually, I think a lot of people probably agree with this. Is like AI agents, all this stuff. Like definitely was very overhyped last year. Too much over promising, but it is very clear that like for most people, like, everyone understands AI. Everyone gets it. And then if you can build a really powerful agent that just does the thing you need it to do, it's a much easier way to get people to enter the space. And so I'm very bullish, I guess, long-term, thinking out loud of like, I think the tech is still being evolved. I think, folks like yourself are doing really great work with this. We talked about account abstraction and simplifying that process. So I guess what I'm saying is like, I think long-term, what I'm most excited about is like, if we can get agents to a point to focus in on specific maybe consumer crypto apps, right? Like travel concierge stuff, something I'm really excited about. One day someone will build it. But then if you can abstract away all the crypto on the back end, and then you can create the points in the web, right? So then like anyone can just be like, I just want to book a flight, and then you can become like the new Expedia, but with like real points and
real value.
Yeah, real. Anyways, sorry.
I think it's great. I think AI thing's great. And I think there's a lot.
Yeah,
it was overhyped. I do think, because robo trading these things already exist in like a TradFi world, right? Like in a world where we give an AI crypto to do things for us, I think is very interesting. I think there's a lot we have to figure out from like a UX perspective and like security perspective. Like, okay, well, how do I ensure that like it's going to do what I told it to do? But I think that idea is very real, and I think it's something that again people can understand.
It's coming. We had Guy and Ritual on the past couple of weeks, and so it's very much on the line. I don't know if you guys ever want. I don't know if you guys are already working on it, but maybe there's something there now. All right, cool. So I think we're coming up on the end here, but I think there's just two more questions here, which is what's coming up next? I guess let's start there. What's coming up next for WalletConnect and Reown? What are the upcoming features that you can maybe tease out? New partnerships that may or may not be coming on, things that people should be keeping their eyes out for.
I think for Reown, we're doing a lot of work around smart sessions, which is going to be, I think a key thing, like AI on like the ability to kind of pre-program permissions and delegated actions, which I think tie to very closely to the AI narrative and what we think is gonna happen. Also, keep an eye out for us. We're going to be at Accelerate, and I think for us, it's growing, entering new ecosystems, and giving the tools that because Reown, EVM, Bitcoin, Solana, and like growing that. Yeah. To me, I think growth comes from ecosystems. There's so much happening. So much happening to these other platforms that is important. Like, and how you enter those is a completely different go-to-market. It's like looking at how we sustainably serve builders in new ecosystems while like growing in like the high growth ones like Solana. We know more people are already built around Bitcoin. There's a lot of products coming out, Bitcoin L2s and Bitcoin DeFi. Like we know that's all coming. So I think those are really important spaces for us to look at as a company. And then again, what are like the UX innovations we have to deliver? Like how do we continue to deliver tools and abstract that experience? So make it easier for wallets and apps to build great products, and then UX.
Bring in those consumers we just talked about.
Yeah, bring in users. And then for WalletConnect, very much keep an eye on things around Solana Accelerate. I think for WalletConnect is what we're working on right now is we just launched a token. So I think the next phase is as the community grows and as we think about different ecosystems as well for WalletConnect, because it's an interoperable protocol. It's an important way to think about like what that means for a token as well.
Coming soon, fingers crossed. And then the last thing, and then we'll jump into rapid fire questions and be on our merry way. But I guess the last one is, why should people be excited about WalletConnect and WCT specifically, right? You have a lot of growth in connections, but how's that going to help pave the way for mainstream adoption?
Well, I think the main thing is WalletConnect was the foundations of it were mobile to mobile wallet to DApp connectivity. And I think we're still a very desktop driven industry. And I think like the foundations of WalletConnect are also like fueling mobile adoption or fueling mobile UX. So I think, I think what we all believe is that we need more mobile applications. We need more mobile usage. Wallets can be way better on mobile. Yeah. And that's super bullish for WalletConnect, and also that WalletConnect continues to push where there's always like standards that make that experience better. So I think for WalletConnect, those are the kind of the key things to look at, because I think as the ecosystem grows and the space grows, like the growth of WalletConnect very much tied to that. Like if more people, if you have a decentralized connectivity protocol, the space grows, the usage like should grow. And that's kind of like the way I think about it. More adoption is more bullish for
it all comes hand in hand, right? Like you guys are very much pressed on growing the pie, because if you grow the pie,
The grow the pie, we're not just, it's not even just mobile. The app actually we're used by custodians and exchange wallets. Like the wallet is very much an integral part of all those things.
Yeah.
So if things grow, like you would expect WalletConnect to grow, but
fingers crossed. Network effects. Yeah. Let's like
truly, yeah.
All right, perfect. Well, that was that for the main interview. I think we'll just dive into rapid fire questions real quick. So it's really just 4 questions. We've asked pretty much every guest we've ever had these questions. So first is just, what's the most underrated marketing tactic in Web3 right now?
Consistency.
Oh, tell me more.
Just being like continually being like high quality and good.
Yeah.
Being on message,
Yeah.
having consistent tone, having a consistent like way of showing up. I think we totally undervalue.
Yeah.
I think consistently, it's like you're just boring. Like if you're consistent, like it's not, and you're not chasing the hot new narrative part. Like no, there's a way to do that, but there's also a way to be who you are.
Right.
It's not who you are. There's nothing there. It's hollow. There's no brand. You can't build that. You can't build on that.
Yeah, and we do see that. There's a lot of projects that 1 second they're doing this, and the next. It's fair.
I want to do this with the that. Yeah, you can do that all day, and you're nothing or nothing at the end of the day. Sometimes
we're just trying to figure it out. Yeah. Next one. Worst marketing advice you see being pushed in crypto?
Shit post and make noise. I think we equate noise with quality, and I think those two things don't run hand in hand. I think just sometimes noise is just noise, and noise is not good noise. And having mind shares and you can have bad mind shares. So I think, I do think we adopt the mindset in crypto. Any press is good press, which is not accurate.
Yeah.
So I think this need just to make a lot of noise versus like
too much yapping.
It's too much yapping. I mean,
for no purpose. Sometimes.
Well, the yapping, like from in New York, like when you yap, it's meant to bullshitting. So I think like it's not like, I don't view yapping as like a positive word. I'm like if you're yapping, it's like,
I got a lot of yaps.
Time to be quiet.
Yeah, that's tricky. That's funny. Next one. We kind of touched on this earlier, but curious if this changes with maybe this phrasing. But which crypto brands or projects do you think are really crushing it? We kind of talked about earlier in the context of events, but more broadly, I guess.
I think again, I really love just like the way Solana just built their ecosystem. Sui is doing. I think the founder, like Sui, is doing a great job.
Yeah.
I like what else? I love what Magic Eden's doing.
Yeah.
I have the team over there. Like they're doing a great job. Like again, like how do you maintain momentum and adoption when you have like what was an NFT platform and a multi-chain wallet? I think they're doing a great job.
Keep evolving.
I think you have to. Like they've done a great job of like. Again, but being who they are too. Top of that. What is the ones that kind of who else are like what they're doing? I love Phantom as just a brand and product. I think like that's just like really flawless. Great product is like beautiful, like great design.
That's how they got adoption.
Like great design, clean, like great UX design. Like those maybe obvious ones, but are like, but they're consistent. Like they're consistent.
There we go. I love it. And then the last one here, and this is my favorite question. We've done this podcast, I guess, for 3 different seasons now. Now it's alive. It's always been evolving. But we've asked every guest this one, which is looking back your time at Reown or over the past year, or however you want to think about it. But what's the biggest learning that you've had in your career as a Web3 marketer, or things you wish you'd known?
I think we kind of have to go with your gut a lot. I think when you're in frontier, when you're working in kind of frontier tech, and you're like I was saying earlier, like, there is no blueprint for a lot of what we're doing, and often you're operating blind sometimes with not enough data, not enough insights. You kind of have to. I'm thankful that I have the background I do, because I know I have at least a foundation of like a way to do things that is. No matter what industry, I feel like what industry I'm in, pretty true. But I think like you have to go with your gut and be a bit fearless and not be afraid to fail. And I think,
we're all just figuring it out.
Yeah, because you are just figuring it out, right? And it's just sometimes we work in a very high stakes industry, especially when you have a token and stuff. It's very high stakes and a lot of pressure. So I think That would be my, I think you have to kind of go with your gut a lot in this space.
I love it. Go with your gut. We're all figuring it out. Make it happen. Nice.
True.
All right. Well, Steven, that's it. So thank you so much for coming on. Last thing actually is, where can people find you? What should they be looking up for? Is there any call to action? Let the world know.
Yeah, follow Reown on X and just check out. We just launched a state of on-chain UX report. Please read it. Give us feedback. It's very comprehensive. It's long, but it's super.
We'll link it in the show notes.
It's good. And then I'm Steven Dolcemaschio on X. I try to yap. I'm still getting better at yapping. I think I come from that like marketing world where I'm like, oh, I'm supposed to talk. I thought like the work talk. I'm still getting used to that. Yeah, you can find me there.
I love it. All right. Well, thanks so much, Steven.
Thanks, Blake. Awesome.
Appreciate it. I'll see you soon.
Cheers.
Cheers.